That's a nice fish. I saw that school of shad up there. Good one. I tried doing a walk and talk, and when I got down near the water, I kept losing my signal, and so it kept cutting me off. And then, of course, I'm still learning how to use this gimbal, which I do really like. It's very helpful for me, but I still have there's still a lot of learning I got to do. So sorry about all that, folks. It's just, 70 years old, learning new technology. It's pretty amazing, pretty fun. I really do enjoy it. Wanted to say welcome to the chat, and uh, I hope you had a fantastic Thanksgiving. The earlier videos that I recorded, I'm going to probably delete because they just didn't come out very good as far as I'm concerned. So we're going to start over and try and do a good one this time. First of all, happy Thanksgiving. I hope you had a great time with your family. I hope you took a minute out to kind of reflect on what a great country we live in and the great people that we live with, even the ones we disagree with. We've got to, they're our neighbors and our friends. And when it all comes down to it, the one thing about our country and the people that live in it is that we are very formidable. When we come together, we are a great force and quite a force to be reckoned with. So, our forefathers came through a whole lot of stuff to get us to where we are now, and we're all very privileged to be here. We should be thankful for it. I don't care what they're telling you in high school and college. You need to love this country. It is the absolute best place to be in the world, and you're very, very, very fortunate to be here. Um, I wanted to first of all do kind of a fishing report for this week. I intended to do this earlier, but things didn't work out technically for me. I have submitted it to the Texas Parks and Wildlife. So if you're wanting to see fishing reports, go to the Texas Parks and Wildlife website and you'll see my fishing report along with others. Mine is just for Lake Fork. I was doing a couple of other lakes, but I can't get to all of them. And I don't feel like it's right to try and do a fishing report where I haven't been out fishing on the lake. So I kind of had to back off from that, at least for now. So what I want to tell you about the fishing is that, of course, with all this weather and this cold weather and the water's dropping down in temperature. So when the temperature goes down, so do the fish. And that's just a rule. Now, I know some studies, I've been doing some research for an article I'm starting to write. And I know that the research says that a lot of these fish stay in the same place all year round, and I'm sure that that's true. They know from their studies a lot more than I know, but I'm just telling you from my instincts. They drop down. I'm talking about bass. I'm talking about bass. The bass drop down to deeper water, and they also kind of stop feeding. They kind of go into not really a sleep, but they just kind of get down and hang. They don't mind cold water so much, but they want it warmer than it is now. And you can still catch them; they'll still feed, but the water's kind of in the in between kind of temperature. It's in the uh, mid 50s at this point, probably. I haven't been out there today, but with all the cold rain we've had, I imagine it's down into the mid 50s. And on Lake Fork, when it gets below 50, we just, most of us just quit fishing for bass and we'll just fish for crappie. So, what I would do but if you want to go fish for bass, it's still okay. Go and fish around boat houses, fish around places that you might find uh, where the bass can find things to feed on. Like if you're watching your graph and you see big schools of shad, which you will because they're everywhere. If you see big schools of shad and they're down in 12 or 15 feet of water, that's the depth you need to fish for the bass. If the shad are down in 20 foot of water, that's where you need to fish for the bass. So whether you're fishing conventionally or you're fishing with a fly rod, um, if you're going to fly fish, you're going to have to use a sinking line or a sink tip. Either one will work. I don't mind throwing a sinking line, but I just have never been able to really get a feel for it. It's really heavy and bulky, and you really do feel it the whole time. And so I find that a little difficult. I find a sinking tip line a lot more comfortable to fish with. And then I'm going to tie on like a big streamer because you want to get a big bait down in front of those fish. If I was fishing conventionally, I would just take the biggest old white spinner bait I had and I'd chunk that, or I know a lot of guys are using fish patterns more, and that's cool. But I would use a big bulky bait and I'd move it as slow as I could in front of those fish, and that'll generally draw a strike. And that's conventional or fly fishing. And so fly fishing has, I, I guess you could call it an advantage, maybe right now, because your bait is typically going to move slower. And when you get it in front of that big old bass down there in that tree, it's going to kind of suspend and it's going to hang there. It's going to tempt him to come after it. So try that. I'm going to look for treetops. I'll use my electronics. And if I see fish in the treetops or if I see clouds of bait fish down at that depth, I'm going to look for a creek channel that's got a bend in it, because that's, of course, where the deeper water is going to be in a creek, is in the bends. Um, I'm going to fish an area like that. If I see a tree there, it's like a big old bonus. And I'm going to fish slow, and I'm going to fish as deep as I can make myself fish. It's kind of hard to do sometimes, you got to wait a little while with a fly rod, but it depends on the rate of depth that your line is sinking, and you don't have to have a 9 foot leader on your fly line. You can use a shorter leader, use a 3 or 4 foot leader. You're down in deeper water, it's darker, it's not as visible, and so a shorter leader is going to help anyway, because a lot of times when that thing's moving slow through there, it's hard to feel that bite. And so if you were conventionally fishing, you're throwing a spinner bait or something, it'll feel like you got hung on a limb. That's usually when you have a fish. If you're using a fly rod, then you might not feel that as much. You'll still may think at some point that you're hung up on a limb, but be ready, because it's probably a fish. So I'm going to look for creek channels. Sorry guys, I'm outside. My eyes are watering a little bit. I'm going to look for bends in the creek channels. I'm going to look at on Lake Fork. I'm going to look for an old tank dam anywhere I can find one. I'm going to look for the biggest concentration of shad that I can find. At this time of year, those bass are going to hang around those shad pods, and they're going to just kind of hang there. When they're ready to eat, they're going to just run into them and feed. That's really what they want to do. Sorry about that. I didn't turn off my phone. I'll get this all down someday where I'm not interrupted during one of my broadcasts. Uh, I'm going to look for old tank dams. I'm going to look for old tanks. There's tanks all over this lake, old brood ponds. If it's a warm, sunny day in December, which we get a few of them, we're going to have a few coming up. I might even go down to the dam, and I might even throw some baits around that dam where the sun's getting, maybe heating up the first foot or so of water. It may bring some fish up there. So I'm going to do some things like that. But mostly I'm going to look for a flooded, submerged treetop or brush pile. Now, here's a little trick, guys. These brush piles that these crappie fishermen are using, and don't tell them I told you this. This is a big secret. They're full of big fish. They're full of big old bass. Those crappie fishermen get real frustrated because the black bass come up and grab the crappie when they're trying to get them to the boat. And crappie fisherman just doesn't know what to do with bass. I don't care who you are. I know you can get mad at me and say whatever you want, but we know, don't we? We know. The bass fishermen know. Um, Although I have to say that some of my crappie fishing friends have been out fishing me off those brush piles for bass, whether they wanted to or not. So that would be my fishing report for the week. Now, the other thing that I almost forgot is the crappie, and the crappie are starting to move out to the deeper water, the more open water where we like them this time of year, and they sort of migrate out there and they hang out there all winter, and they're waiting on those pods of shad to come swimming by, and they jump up in there and they feed on them. And you're going to look for a hump, or there's plenty of them out in this lake. There's humps, there's creek channels. You want to be near deep water, so the main lake is really the deepest area down by the dam, but it's like this kind of all over Lake Fork. There's channels that run through here that are 45, 50 feet deep, and those crappie get down, and they'll get down in that deeper water depending on how cold it is, and then they'll move up and feed. So if you want to be kind of around a hump, you might see crappie moving. You might see them on your electronics. You might see them swimming by. I do it all the time, and I just drop a jig down there. Now, if I'm fishing with my fly rod, again, I would like to use a sink tip line, and I would like to use a light leader. And then I would put like a nice little clouser on it, a small clouser, and drop it down in those crappie, and you will catch fish. And they'll be anywhere in the 20+ foot range, but sometimes I get them shallower. If it's a little warmer outside, they'll actually move up a little shallower. But I'm mostly going to be thinking around 20-25 feet. Eventually they're going to move down deeper, and so you just have to decide how hard you want to work for it. I'll be honest with you, I have put my my fly rods up for bass fishing, and I have my older fly rods that I use for crappie fishing out, and I've tied up some crappie jigs, and that's what I'll be fishing with here for a few weeks when I get out. And in the meantime, I'm going to be doing some maintenance on my reels, cleaning them up, cleaning my line up, things like that. And then of course I'm going to spend quite a bit of time at the table tying flies for the spring, and I'll have a lot of videos for that. So that would be my fishing report this week. If you guys have any questions, leave me a message. I'd appreciate any kind of comments. Appreciate a share and a like on this video. Help me out with the channel. We're trying to get it going, trying to get better at it. So so maybe we can get some get a bigger audience, and I'd love communicating with people. So feel free to communicate and leave a message. And if you need any information to come out to Lake Fork, let me know. And hope you have a fantastic holiday. I'll see you next week with another fishing report from Lake Fork.